Howdy folks, welcome back to another video. This is going to be a quick video, kind of an update. Well, not kind of, it's an update video because I haven't had any jobs coming in, although I do have that Honda CB750, that 71 coming in on Friday. So you'll see that, I'm certain, coming up. But what I've been working on is taking care of workflow issues, things that just been annoying me. You know, you go to do something on one of the machines and something gets in the way or it's just not set up properly. And so that's what I've been dealing with for the last couple weeks. I'm going to brief you. I'm going to give you a briefing of what I've been doing. And then again, today's Tuesday, so this Friday, that prospective customer is supposed to be here with that bike. So you'll see that here soon. But for now, let's go ahead and get on with this video, what I wanted to show you. All right, the first item on the agenda is over on the lathe here. It solves a big problem. The way I have it set up with the cross slide, this is the X-axis going in and out. As far as the axis going toward the spindle, that's the Z-axis. So I have a 3-axis setup as far as the display goes, because that's just the way they come. You can buy 2-axis, but these are the cheapest ones as a package. So I'm not using the 3rd axis, of course. The problem with that is when you put the encoder on this side, that's the side that has the lock for the cross slide, just a little Allen a grub screw, really, a little grub screw lock. Not unlike this one right here, which is the grub screw lock or Allen bolt lock, cap bolt rather, for the carriage. So I haven't been able to lock the cross slide, and when you're doing a really precise cut, depending on how tight your gibs are in your cross slide here, now this thing can wander a little bit. I did notice on some cutting operations, even a light cut, the X-axis was moving a little bit, and I'm like, I can't have that. So, I don't know, week and a half ago, I took this all apart, everything apart, cleaned up a lot of stuff. Like, these things are not deburred all that well, even the machine surface or scrape surfaces for like the dovetails and stuff. I stoned them all, and I got them all cleaned up while I was at it, but I ended up adding a grub screw over here, a locking screw, which goes through to the dovetail, so you got the dovetail back here. The gib is on the other side. Technically, you're really supposed to lock against the gib. But what I ended up doing was I just took a piece of brass that goes inside this hole behind the grub screw, and that thing is cut for the angle of the dovetail right here. So it locks it in at that angle, and that screw pushes against the brass, so it's not pushing metal to metal. So that worked out really well. The only downside to it, of course, being on the spindle side, what can happen is if you're working really close to the spindle, and you can't really get in there to undo that very comfortably, at least. It doesn't lock it solid, super solid. You can kind of overcome it and back it off a couple thou so you can at least move the carriage out of the way without dragging it across the workpiece. It's just the way it has to be because there's no other way to do it. If you try to do it from the top, you know, like this one is for the carriage, it's going to lift this, it's going to change it that way, so we can't do that. Even with a dovetail properly adjusted with the gibs and so forth. So yeah, this worked really well, and I've used it a couple times. So that's really all I ended up doing on the lathe. But this took me a half day to do because I had to disengage the scale and the encoder, take everything off, clean everything, stone everything. It took me a whole half day to do this because I wanted to do it right. So that's done at least, and again, it works really well. Yeah, so that was the one annoying thing out of the way. Now there's several annoying things on this one that I took care of. And we'll get to that here in a second. Now the first annoying thing I took care of was I moved this light from being mounted up here on top of the cover, which is really annoying and a pain in the butt when you go to change the belts and take that off. And I just mounted it to the body. I don't know why they didn't do that in the first place. Punched a hole through the casting, brought it out this way with some grommets, and just plug it in over there. No big deal. And that works fine. And I kind of like this old light style, just like it. You know, this is the original light to it, I'm certain, because it's got that 1970s look. And I really like this light, so I wanted to keep it. So we're mounted there, and that pretty much takes care of that. And again, it gets it off of where it really never should have been in the first place. What a total pain in the keister that was. It's made taking the cover on and off much easier. Speaking of the cover, one of the biggest problems we had here on the top was the opening in the hole for where it comes out the top of this round column where it's got that cap on there. Even if this was perfectly straight where it's supposed to be lined up in this little, little recess here, that would always catch And oh my God, you want to talk about, I wanted to throw this thing. It happened so many times. It would catch over here mainly. So I took it off, and that was very loud, even with hearing protection, and cut that open to give us more relief, and then just painted it up a little bit, and it works great now. So yeah, that really helped a lot. I was so sick of that. I tell you what, I was getting ready to just have a stroke. It was such a pain in the butt. Now, speaking of pains in the butt, the other thing was, the astute among you and observant will notice that there's no longer the reverse forward switch back here where I originally mounted it. It's mounted up here now, but it's not really mounted actually. It's kind of suspended my magic. What I did here was I used a magnet to put this box on because I was too lazy to drill a hole mainly. But I just scrapped some old IDE hard drives from like the 90s. And I said, I'm gonna go ahead and take them apart and steal the magnets out of them because they are really handy sometimes. Glued it to the box, extended the wires. Let me tell you something, this sucker's on there. And so now it's really convenient. That was definitely annoying, so I took care of that. I was really sick of reaching back there. Plus, and these sharp edges, when it's back there, and I don't have a whole lot of room between here and through the man door, you cut yourself, you cut your shoulder on. I cut my shoulder a couple times on it, really pain in the ass. So that was good getting it out of there from a safety perspective alone. Now you guys will notice this big green blob of aluminum on the front here. Not really a blob, more like a column. You remember that I had this AccuRemote Z DRO mounted for the quill axis, and this is a nice unit. I would recommend these to anybody. It's pretty heavy duty, and I got it from Amazon a few years ago. The main problem with it is when you turn it on, it's hard to read. You can't see the damn thing. It's not backlit. The numbers are too small, and I made some mistakes on plunging into things because I couldn't read it or I misread it. So I said, screw it. I've got a 3-position or 3-axis DRO monitor, if you will. And I went to the grizzly.com website and I bought the shortest linear encoder that they had, linear scale rather, that they had, which is got a 5 7/8, I think, a length of travel. The length of travel on this is like 5.1 inches, so on the quill. So that worked out well, but you got to make sure you're supposed to put these in where you have like 3/8 of an inch or something, 10 mil or 12 mil or something of space or free play at the end before it bottoms. And I did the best I could. I probably got a quarter, maybe 6 mil. I ended up mounting this over the last 2 days. This took me about a day and a half, and I kind of finished up the details today. But what the problem is, and I will insert a little shot here of what it looks like without the cover on, so you see what I mean. And when I do that, you'll see that the side where the encoder slides up and down, where that yellow protective kind of vinyl tape is, it slides in and out of, being it's on this side, doesn't really matter what side it's on, it's exposed instead of being like these that are down underneath, to a possibility of getting some contamination in there, which is why I extended this cover around. I just took some aluminum channel and glued it to the original cover, brought it around. And unfortunately, it's the best I can do right now. What I might do in the future, take some sort of piece of rubber that I can, make it go like a right angle around here. I don't exactly know how I do that. And that way the encoder can just push it down out of the way, and then it'll just recover itself, the rubber that is. And to help shield it a little bit better, but right now I don't know what I'd use for that. I don't have anything besides an old tire tube, which I don't think would work. So I'm going to think about that and figure it out, and hopefully not trash the thing in the meantime. But I think it's going to work fine. And I've seen them on other YouTube creators' videos, linear scales like this. I don't know if they're magnetic or glass. They may be good magnetic scales, but they don't even have covers on them at all. Most likely they're magnetic scales. So these glass scales, though, are really sensitive to getting crap in them. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But the beauty of this thing is I can see it. If I engage this fine feed, you can see this thing just gives you some really nice finite movement. And I can see it. I can move it by the tenths Naturally, I'm in inches here. That's not millimeters. I use bananas mostly, so sorry about that. Sometimes metric, but yeah, so that was not really annoying, but it was a thing that was causing me to make mistakes. Short scale like this is not that expensive. I think it was like 118 bucks plus shipping, or maybe it was free shipping, I don't remember. From Grizzly, they're really good. You know, I had a lot of problems with them when I tried to buy a new lathe, but as far as parts and shit, they get crap out the door fast. So I don't have any complaints there. I don't have any problem recommending these guys, this AccuRemote. This is a nice little DRO, and maybe I'll use it on something else in the future. So that definitely solved that challenge and sort of a problem by doing it that way, and hopefully it'll hold up. All right, we'll turn the light on. We'll go over this Kurt vise here. Now, this wasn't really an annoying thing. Well, it sort of was. I've always wanted a Kurt vise for this mill. This is a Kurt D688. They don't make it anymore. It's an old vise. Got some pitting. It was used in a CNC shop. I had to drive to Odessa, Florida for this, about an hour away. Well, maybe not quite an hour away. It's up in Pasco County. And it was in really sad shape. I initially was going to do an entire video on it, and it turned out to be really dumb. So I decided not to risk having a visit again from the dumb video police, because the last time it wasn't a very positive encounter. As I always say, don't just repair, restore, and we'll catch on. Oh no. We warned you. Look, can't we talk about this? Oh, come on, man. No, you don't need to do this. No, come on, no. Ugh. So I wanted to not have that happen and certainly avoid that at all costs. So I decided I will throw some B-roll clips in here that I can find of maybe taking it apart and cleaning it up and so forth, because you know the lead screw was it was really gooed up. It is kind of pitted toward this end of it up here, toward that end. But overall, this vise is in pretty good shape. I paid $350 for it, which is about the going price for even a clapped out one of these, and it wasn't that clapped out. But I was going to chew him down $300, but I gave him the $350 because being his specialized CNC shop, he had all these aluminum jaws that he made for specialized parts. Little round parts, there's got to be 30-something pounds of aluminum bars there. It has holes in it, you know, for where it bolted up to here. Plus I have two metal jaws, two steel jaws that are down here. Those are them right there. I cleaned them up and just put them down there. That ER32 wrench is on top of them. And those have a little shoulder on them where if you have you want to do a repeat job, in fact, on thin flat stuff, that lip will grab them. These are jaws I obtained from Kurt, though, for this vise. I ordered them online, and they were not expensive at all. This is the Kurt jaws for this with the little adjustable stop. So I ordered this, both jaws, this, and 4 new bolts. I don't remember how much it was, but it wasn't over 200 bucks. It was like 160 or something. So it was pretty dang cheap, even with shipping. So that worked out really well. Now, the issue I had with the Vevor vise, which is right there, is that this thing is light years smoother and more accurate than that Vevor vise, because, you know, I got it here, obviously. You see these jaws, how they're made. They're not even machined on the sides. These Kurt jaws are ground on the sides. They're ground on the top, they're ground on the back. They're super nice. Now I machined this surface, that surface, and that surface in the mill after indicating them in to get them nice and squared up, because they were kind of knackered up and gnarly. But I got them straightened out, and then when I indicated this vise in, everything is great. This thing is just beautiful to work with. Emailed Kurt and I said, hey, I'm restoring this vise. Can you send me some new stickers? And they sent me some. So that's why it's got brand new stickers. No, free of charge. They sent me some stickers. So that was great. So yeah, this is a super nice vise. And this paint, I'm going to tell you a little secret on this paint. If you're redoing a Vevor vise or a Kurt vise, you go down to your Lowe's and get yourself a can of this Krylon Color Max paint and primer, gloss true blue. It is an exact match. I just guessed. It was what I had in stock. An exact match for the Vice Blue, when it's not all faded out at least. And it matched the Kurt color exactly. I mean, I can't believe, you can see this is the Kurt color right here. You see how it matches. So I'm really happy to have this. And these things are just going for stupid money, even clapped out. But it really is going to improve the workflow immensely. So I just wanted to share that with you. All right, now we'll turn this off and we'll turn our attentions to, no, we're not going to turn our attentions there. He's just resting. He's been outside. It's a little hot out there, but he wanted to go out. So, hey buddy, how's it going? Whatever. All right, so he's like, I want food. Now we're going to turn our attention over here and I'll show you what I did here. Now, at first glance, it doesn't look like I've done anything. I have, and I've done a significant amount of work on this lift. And I think you're going to really like it and it's going to help me out immensely. So I'm going to have to set you up in a tripod to show you, so stand by. My main concern about keeping the sides on the lift table, which if you remember from, I'll come down like this. If you remember from the video I did when I redid the piston, if you saw that video, and chances are you didn't based on the views, I said the reason why I have the sides always on is because I don't really have a good place to store them. And when you're loading a very heavy motorcycle up here, you want to either ride it up or winch it up, riding it up in particular. You need some place to put your feet. So that's why I keep the sides on it. And these are just way too freaking heavy to take on and off. So what I ended up doing was I came up with an idea to make a compromise. What would be the way to get them out of the way when you don't need them, but keep them on there when you do? It takes a special tool that I had to make as well, but let me show you. All right, so here's a special tool made out of a handle for a small hydraulic jack. In this case, it's my tubing bender, my hydraulic tubing bender, but hell, when do I use that? And I welded this piece of square tubing with a slot on it at an angle, and I'll show you what it does. So the first thing we do is we go over here, and you may remember, let me see if you're in shot here because this is important. You may remember, yeah, you are. You may remember the original setup was I had long tubes going through. They were a double wall pipe that would stick out about 2 inches on each side with a hole in it. You could put a pin or a bolt through so they wouldn't come all the way out. And I would constantly hit myself on those. So now, we got this size of a pipe, and we take this one out up here. So it just leaves the center one. I take my special tool and I grab the side of the, I guess the side of the side, pull this one out, and just gently go like this. Ta-da! Hinge sides. You're crooked. Why is that? Oh, there you go. Hinge sides. So this works out real well for a couple other reasons, because when I have a motorcycle up on here, if I have to be out here where this thing is in place, I gotta lean in. You know, I gotta do the, is there a dance by this name? I guess there is. Maybe it's called the swimmer, do the swimmer. Well, you have to do the swimmer, and it hurts my back. My back is already screwed up. So I said I need to get closer to the work. And now I can get right up to it by just folding it down. The other major benefit to having the hinges and having these things fixed on where they can't move side to side is when you're putting a bike off the lift or on the lift and you ride it up and you got to set the side stand down and get off the bike. Whenever you do that and you're letting the side stand down and you kind of have your foot down to you don't let it fall on the side stand, or you're picking the bike back up from the side stand to get it off the lift, these things inevitably would push out suddenly because those pieces of tube, the double wall tube, had a single wall that stuck out about 2 inches on each side, and an inch away from the edge of the lift was the hole for the pin. So even if it was pinned, it could push over a total of 2 inches if it drug it all the way through, which it inevitably did. Every time I did that, it would push this out. It would scare the crap out of me, be very dangerous. And I was always worried it would just push the whole side off. So if you get my drift, I don't have any bike on here to show you, of course, but if you have the bike and you drive it up and you let it down the side stand, as you're doing that and you're kind of putting pressure almost down this way because you're sitting on the bike, it just pushes this out. Well, it can't do it now because it is hooked up physically by the hinges. So this was another thing. I didn't even think about that when I was doing this. But after I did it, I went, holy shit, that solves that problem, and that'll never ever happen again. So I'm really happy that kind of took care of that problem, which again was annoying as hell, but also relatively dangerous. So let me show you how I did this. First thing I did was went down to the Homeless Despot and got some of these T-hinges. Let me take one out of the package to show you unmolested. These hinges are rated for 50 pounds each. And I said, well, these things probably weigh 70 pounds maybe, because they're heavy as hell, if not more. And I said, I don't know about that. So I said, why couldn't I modify them? So I did. Now the reason why they're only rated for 50 pounds each is A, they're made in China, and B, this is not a through, what do you call it, a through pin, like on a door hinge. This is two separate pins. You see those dimples on each side of it? Those dimples go into a little accommodating slot or a little recess in the pins to hold them in. So the pins only go yay deep into it. Let me show you one of the pins. Well, I'll give you two for your money. This is the pins right here. You can see what they look like. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up taking these pins, so these things only go in yay far, like that, out by just drilling out those dimples. You can see the drill marks and pins here. And then driving them out. And then taking the plastic part, because this is bigger than that. These are two the same size, but they're smaller because of the plastic insert that they use, probably for sound or whatever, I don't know, or to keep it from freezing up. When the plastic is driven out, these are two basically the same size. They're not very round, but they're the same. What I did was I took these things and I machined two through pins, but before I installed everything, so you got this spot here I welded up, and you can see right here it's just bent over. So I ground the zinc out of the way so I wouldn't poison myself as much as I need to. Welded that up. And on the other side here, turn it over, I did the same thing here and here. So I just dropped it, of course. So that naturally makes these a whole lot stronger than if they're not connected together, plus these pins being only sticking in there a little bit. The pin I made goes all the way through. So it's got a head on one end, and it just has a end with a hole, and I put a washer and a welcome back cotter pin. And you old guys will get that one, you young guys won't. So I put a welcome back cotter pin in here, and just welded this one on the front here, welded the one on the inside, and that way I can still take them off if I wanted to. So that worked out really well. Welding vertical is very difficult with the welder I have, because it's a 120 welder, but it runs hot, it really does. And it sucks for doing this kind of welding, but I was able to get some good beads in there, and it's definitely solid. It just doesn't look worth shit, but it's not going to let go anytime soon, I guarantee you. I mean, I welded everything up on my sidecar rig. Custom front end, what, twice now with that welder. I am not dead yet, so I would say it's pretty good. And of course did this one the same way, and the two on the other side the same way as well. So that's how I pinned it as far as hinging it goes, by just using store-bought hinges and making them a hell of a lot stronger. This is a really sad design, it really is, the way they did this. I mean, this is really shitty, it really is. So if you're going to go buy some hinges for something, keep in mind that what you see is definitely not what you get. Now naturally, the reason why I made this tool was these are heavy as hell even when they're hinged. They are very, very heavy. And so this tool just gives me extra leverage to lift them up. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll just get in here best I can. Oh, wait a minute. I need to get the pin, hang on. Well, that's a good point. Let me show you that. What I did was I took these bars, which are double-walled tubing, just a smaller tube inside a bigger tube when I originally did this, because when I bought this lift, it didn't come with the tubes. It only came with the sides and the ramp. So what I did here was I welded up the end to tie the tube together, and then put a flat washer on the other end and welded that up as close to the edge as possible, because I'm sick of having this thing sticking out and, like I said earlier, running into an edge. So essentially stuck out like this, a couple inches, had a hole in there for the pin, and I'd go by and hit it and ow, and bruise my leg. So I wanted to keep this as flush as possible, which is what I did. So again, let's use the tool here. Ugh. And it still ain't easy with the tool, let me tell you what, but it's a hell of a lot easier than doing it manually. To bring it up, there we go. Not manually, but just by hand. I can do it, but it's pretty hard. Now the reason why this works, and you don't need a pipe going all the way through, the way they designed this, I'll show you on this one. Whoops. Looks like you're drunk. You see how that hole is like right close to the top edge? So those bars kind of slid across the top edge of the sides and of the main section of the lift anyway. So with that being the case, I said, well, why couldn't I just cut them in half? It's going to do the same thing. It'll be in here up to about there. The other side will be the same, and it's getting the same support. They're just not connected together. But who cares? It's a double wall steel pipe basically. I'm certain that it's not going to have any strength issues for what I put on this, you know? I mean, no question whatsoever it's going to work for what I put on it. You know, a mower or something, or an ATV, this thing not going to bat an eye. And the other side's pretty much the same. So this took me a couple of days to do because of all the welding. Well, 2 days actually, all the welding and grinding and things like that. That's why the concourse is covered up, because I was trying to keep it, you know, the dust off of it, the grinding dust and so forth, and paint off of it. And I just moved the sidecar out. And you had to do it. I had to do this when there was no customer work in here, because I wouldn't certainly have done it at that point. And I've been waiting for a period of time like this to do this. So I think this is really going to help out a lot. I just got to figure out what I'm going to do to store these things. I'm thinking about making something where I can just drop them in and hang them, maybe from the workbench over there. Drop them in, make a little bracket that goes across in front of the drill press or something. I don't know. That way they're kind of organized and stored. I don't know. I figured it out. But for now, we'll just put them over to the side. But yeah, so this came out real well, and I'm real happy with it. And there's no interference with it going up and down, because there's nothing sticking inboard or otherwise where it shouldn't be, for clearance for the legs. And I guess that just about does it. I'm going to turn everything off, and the stuff I've showed you is just, again, what I've been tinkering with and doing in downtime. Stick around though, because again, that Honda CB750 coming in on this Friday. I don't know, again, I'm really unclear what he wants. He's bringing like some brand new NOS, new old stock parts, like a new tank, and he said the carbs need to be sorted. I don't know what that means. So he said he's going to bring a list. I asked him to bring a list, and he's going to bring me a list of exactly what he wants me to do. I hope it's enough to fill a video. If not, we'll just show you the bike and film what we can. But I think it'll be interesting nonetheless, and I hope you found this interesting. I know these videos on updates generally don't do very well, and I would have filmed more of things like the DRO and so forth, but based on the performance of the last DRO install video on this mill where I did 2 axes, that didn't perform very well, so I figured what was the point. So at least you saw the finished product. Stick around for more finished products. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, you get notified when I put more junk like this up. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't just repair, restore. We'll see you on next video.